This is Seasons of Discontent.
Welcome to Seasons of Discontent, Season 7, Episode 19, brought to you by Rick Snyder's Washington on social media. And I'm Rick Snyder.
I'm Matt.
And we're back discussing all things Washington sports and life as part of the Mighty Hawkstein Network on audio and here on YouTube for video. All right, I actually remember that nowadays. All right, so the big story. Carson Wentz out 4 to 6 probably, maybe longer. Having surgery on a fractured finger, maybe Monday or Tuesday in LA. Not good, but for all you people out there that were ready to cash him in, I don't know, Matt. I think Carson Wentz may not play again. It depends. I mean, if Heineke does well, or Sam Howell even, you keep them there. If they both stink, but the season's trashed, you don't want to play them too much more because then you'd have to escalate the third round pick to a second next year. So it's not their interest there. So there's things in play, but I would say it's more likely that he does not play for Washington again.
Yeah, I agree with you. Barring injury to Heineke and Sam Howell, Carson Wentz's time in Washington is done. I thought you were going to start off with they won.
Oh yeah.
As you notice, my bag people are gone, but it is Halloween time as well. One of my favorite times of the year. So of course I had to put one of Rick's favorite tour spots in my as my background. But yeah, they actually won on Thursday. Barely, but they won.
For those that don't know, that is the steps in Georgetown that were filmed for the Exorcist scene, the end of the movie.
Just the exterior shots.
Right. It's 75 steps up. I have done it. I actually did it once on video. If you want to go look for it, I did it in like a minute 20 walking up it. It's not that hard.
Yeah, but they're steep.
Oh yeah. I mean, I had to earn it the last few steps up, but
I mean they got to be pretty far down to kill a priest, if you know what I mean.
And it's not the real place that it happened. That happened
right
across town. But if you believe in any of this, but anyway, talking about dead things. But no, they beat Chicago. I didn't think it was that boring a game. Like everybody was like, oh, because if it's not 38-35, you say, oh, it sucks. It's okay. They played decent defense. It was a competitive game, and they won. So, good night. Go enjoy something.
Well, yeah, and that's one of the things. If you do want to look at a positive, you can definitely say that over the past 2 weeks, their defense has looked much better. Not sure what the changes are, William Jackson. But their defensive line is getting pressure. Like I complimented Montez last week against Tennessee for showing up. He showed up again this game. Payne and Allen are a pretty destructive force the past couple 2 games up front. They still need linebacker. They help. I like Cole Holcomb. He's a good tackler, but I don't know. I'm just not overwhelmingly impressed with him as everybody else. Jamin Davis, not impressed yet. Not a first round draft pick type linebacker. But the defense has played better. The offensive line is still trash, as we saw with the first third down of the play against the Bears. It was a all-out blitz, and Wentz had no time to throw. I'll give Carson credit for gutting it out with that finger broken the whole time. That happened pretty early in the game, and it obviously affected his throws. We saw it. He overshot Diami a couple times. He undershot some people. But you got to kind of give the guy credit for gutting it out. But I agree with you. His time in Washington is done.
It's too bad because he really was having an okay season.
Yeah.
He was on track for 4,200 yards and 28 touchdowns. I'll take those numbers.
Yeah, and I feel like he was getting a lot of the negative criticism unjust. I mean, when the guy when you say hike and then there's a 300-pound defensive lineman in your face, what are you supposed to do?
Yeah. So we have to move on. Heineke and Sam Howell are the next ones up. Heineke, although it hasn't been officially said that yet, but Heineke expected to be the starter. Both he and Howell have some mobility. Heineke has a better arm than people think. They call him noodle arm. And last year, he could make some throws. But I will say, watching him in the offseason and preseason, workouts, his arm is stronger to me than it was last season. I think he got worn down last year. I think people will be surprised that he can make some throws he really wasn't making before. He can run to that cone like nobody else can. And Hal has a better arm, but do you really want to throw a rookie at this? No, not right now. Maybe if you get down the road and there's nothing left to play for, then you play that rookie to see if he can be next year's guy. But Heineke is the guy up now, and we'll see about Wentz down the road.
Yeah, and that's the thing. You don't. I said it last week. You don't want to David Carr this kid. He already fell from a projected first round pick the year before to a fifth round pick this year. Let the kid sit. Let him learn the game. If like you said, if you want to maybe try him out for the last 2 games of the year when the season is completely lost, go for it. I wouldn't throw him behind this offensive line right now because you're going to get the kid killed and you're going to just destroy all of his confidence. Barring injury, you got to kind of roll with Heineke for the rest of the year, I think.
It's amazing. We both said that we thought Hal would play this year, and people wonder why. Well, the last 3 years, Washington has started 3 quarterbacks each season, 9 different guys. That's unbelievable. And the year before that, they started 4 guys. So it makes you really appreciate Kirk Cousins playing 3 years with starting every game.
Wasn't it one year they had like Alex Smith and then who was his backup? I can't even remember. Colt McCoy went out, and then they brought in like Mark Sanchez off the streets and Josh Johnson off the streets. Like they had 5 quarterbacks, I believe. Hell, last year they started that kid against Dallas on Monday Night Football, who had never heard of, had 1 start in the NFL.
Yeah, and then didn't keep him at all.
Right, exactly. And then he was released in the offseason.
Yeah, but so I mean, man, what a place for quarterbacks. It's crazy. All right, Tuesday afternoon, the NFL owners are expected to talk about Dan Snyder, either to his face or behind his back, one or the other. But the NFL is finally catching on to a lot of other things. Tennessee, hey, Nashville cut a brand new deal for a stadium, no problem. But Dan can't seem to get it here. And the Washington Post and ESPN have really reported a lot about the owners are upset with Dan because not before the, shenanigans that went on, although I'm sure they don't like it, but we're going to see that happen elsewhere. But they said Dan's got a dossier on everybody to blackmail them back. And they're upset over losing money, basically. A few years ago, this team was doing 70,000. Now they're doing like 50, if you want to really say that's the true number. While the rest of the NFL went up 11%, they went down 30%. And the NFL visiting teams get 40% of ticket revenue. So they're upset with the money. That's always the end of everything. That's how Nixon went down. They told, the Deep Throat told Woodward and Bernstein, follow the money. You follow the money and see where it goes. And that's always true in life. And so now Dan Snyder's Tanya's going to be there to represent the team. They may or may not talk in front of her. It depends. I don't see a vote coming anytime soon, but there's just a lot of stuff keep going. And the ESPN reported if they could get a new stadium, then the owners will be okay, which really tells you what crap this is. But I don't see that happening anytime soon.
Now, wasn't there a report earlier this year that Snyder and Allen and people within the Washington organization were skimming money off the top to keep to make the 40% or the amount lower?
Yeah. Right, because there's all kind of things you can do, like premium seats aren't part of that.
Well, yeah, and like Kenny Chesney concerts aren't part of that.
So there's ways of on that. So I mean, that's always true. I remember one time Peter Frampton was telling a story. He had 90,000 at the vet, and he was getting paid for the 90,000 people. His own promoter slipped in another 15,000 under the books, collected all that money himself, and screwed Peter Frampton out of the money. I mean, this everywhere you go, these things happen. I only wish I could figure out how to grab the cash, but then we wouldn't have to buy my books back there at the website and get the old Redskin one if you don't, or get the new Commanders one if you want.
Rick, I can solve all the problems with one name.
All right.
Jeff Bezos.
If Bezos wanted to do this, I think he would have already. There's talk that the Seattle franchise is going to be up for sale. Maybe.
I don't see that, but Bezos is staking claim in the DC area. Let's be honest. For those of you that don't live here, Bezos is creating a HQ2, Amazon HQ2. He basically bought the entire city of Crystal City in Arlington County. He is demolishing everything and building this massive campus for Amazon in Arlington. He owns the Washington Post. The guy's got $6 billion. He could write that check tomorrow to Snyder and say, here, little boy, go on your way. And I think Bezos would be smart enough. The guy, whatever the guy touches seems to turn to gold. You know, look, you and I both know the paper industry is a dying breed, but that Washington Post is still on the shelf every day. He's somehow finding ways to still get that thing out there. Amazon is probably the most lucrative business in the entire world right now. With 2 years of the pandemic, I mean, God, Amazon Prime memberships had to go through the ceiling. They're putting up these distribution warehouses around every corner. They're popping up more than McDonald's. And, soon they're going to have drones delivering your packages an hour after you buy the damn thing. The business is very lucrative. The guy kind of seems to know what he's doing with a business. And I think he would come in here and he would run this team like a business. And I guarantee you, all he's got to do is he may not want to he'll go to Maryland, DC, and Virginia and say, okay, who wants my stadium? And if none of them come up with a good enough deal, he'll just go buy property somewhere, because that's what he did. He bought Crystal City. He can make things happen. And I think that he also has, enough political affiliation and a political kind of elbow rub with some guys that he could get it done, as to where nobody likes Dan Snyder. The fans don't like him. The other owners don't like him. And, this little Danny getting backed into a corner and, I got dirt on everybody. And if you vote me out, I'm going to sing like a bird. You don't have nothing. I guarantee you he doesn't have nothing. That's just a ploy.
Yeah, wouldn't surprise me. I had a friend who relocated his business in Waldorf, and I asked him, why did he move? He said, this guy comes in my office and says, you own the building? He goes, yeah. He goes, I'd like to buy it from you. And he paid him decent money for him. And they checked him out, and it was a shell company, but they didn't know who it was. Today, there are Amazon delivery trucks sitting on that lot. Bezos had a straw of fire get it for him.
Well, look at when the Nats got here. Look at when the Nationals got here. Many people had tried to build on that property down in the Southeast waterfront, Jack Kent Cooke included. Yeah. They didn't want to pony up the money. The Nationals ponied up that money, and they bought all those warehouses down there at the Southeast waterfront, and now it's a booming metropolis of gentrification. You got a stadium, you got condos. Hell, down the road, you got another stadium popped up out of nowhere.
I think if Jeff Bezos was the owner and said, I want to do RFK, they would work out a deal.
I guarantee you they would.
So, all right, before we go, the Wizards open on Wednesday. Woo!
Who? Go.
Washington Wizards, who I looked at the starting lineup and I was like, okay, I know that guy and I know that guy.
Bradley Beal.
Yeah, Rui Hachimura. But I was like, who are the rest of these guys? I don't know. I don't see it as much of a thing. But I did see today they put out a thing, the Wiz, family of four can go to a Wiz game for an average of $190, which is less than the league average of $288. Man, I wouldn't pay. I used to buy tickets for $1 to go to Wiz games. I spent more on the hot dog.
Go on StubHub. I guarantee you, day of, you can find them for $5 a seat.
Yeah, just crazy stuff. I even saw people talk. They should trade back for Russell Westbrook again. Are you insane? No. This franchise just can't get out of its own way. But I'm glad basketball's back. I'll watch some, and then hockey's back. I don't know how your Pens doing.
2-0.
Well, Caps aren't doing quite as well.
Not yet.
But they always say that hockey season doesn't start till Redskin season ends in this town. But it's kind of true. 2-4. They got a few games left to go before they're officially out. But all right. Well, I think we're done. Maybe a minute early.
Nah, we're done.
People love the bell. If you want to see the bell, if you hit the thanks button underneath, I'll ring it in your name next time. Or come to, Monday nights I do Commanders chats live on YouTube. Had about 500 people last week come. So I don't know. They all get the vent, I guess. It's a screaming session, whatever. All right. Well, we're out of here. We'll be back Thursday with another edition of all this. And Saturday, beating the books, I get to wear my shirt because I didn't have a good weekend picking games. So I'm Rick Snyder.
I'm Matt.
See you soon.
Bye.